the Grand Canyon of the East. The new River Gorge is also the home of Class 6 river runners. Class 6 is a complete outfitter, offering everything from thrilling whitewater experiences to scenic float trips.
The Gauley River is a 24-mile premier section of whitewater, one of the best in the country and definitely the best in the East. What makes it even more challenging is the put-in. If you don't have your act together when you first put in, you're never going to get it together. We have a saying that there are two kinds of paddlers, the quick and the dead. We're only kidding about the dead, but you really have to have your crew organized before you even set your boat in the water.
Major rapid you hit, or rather hits you, is just around the first bend. It has a most unlikely name. It's called Insignificant. But the wildest on this first stretch of water is Pillow Rock. It's one of the Gauley's most difficult rapids to run correctly. The wilderness that surrounds the Gauley River was not always so quiet. Mortar barrages and rifle fire once rang through the woods at Carnifax Ferry, the site of a major Civil War battle. 7,000 Union soldiers stumbled upon an encampment of just 2,000 Confederates. Though drastically outnumbered, General Floyd's Confederate soldiers held off the Union Army commanded by General Rosecrans. Hundreds of Union men were killed or wounded. Amazingly, the Confederates suffered but one injury. General Floyd, sitting on his horse behind the lines, caught a stray bullet in his hand. Below Carnifax Ferry, the Meadow River still silently joins the Gauley. Unlike the clear, dam-controlled waters of the Gauley, the Meadow can bring tons of sediment, and in flood stage, can double the flow of the Gauley. Both the Meadow and the Gauley are old rivers, but their cutting continues, and the rapids change slowly over the years. No one knows that better than geologist and river guide Andy Lockwood.
The Gauley River is a ledge drop river, which means that the layers of rock are meeting the bed of the river and then diving back underneath the river. So we get a sharp ledge, sharp drops. Rapids are fairly short, but the drops are pretty tight. Also, a lot of rapids on the Gauley tend to turn pretty radically in the rapid. Not uncommon, like in Mash, to turn 180 degrees within the rapid itself. So as a consequence, you can't see where you're going before you get there. You know, I talk about rocks all day, but you don't want to get to look at any of them too close. We talk about them and point to them, but we tend to try to give geology lessons from a distance and not up close and personal.
Gauley River in the fall is the time that we can book it on a predictable basis. Summersville Dam was mandated by Congress in 1986 to provide 20 days of whitewater recreation, starting in the middle of September, going through the middle of October. The spring season, we never really know when it's going to flow. It's always dependent on rain.
When the trip is over, rafters are bussed back to the Class 6 headquarters. After each trip, the Class 6 kitchen personnel prepare a dinner feast. A dinner with full salad bar, desserts, and beer and wine are enjoyed on the Class 6 rooftop dining patio, overlooking the new River Gorge. After dinner, there's time to relax and unwind from the day's hectic trip on the Gauley River. It's aboard the bus again. This time, the destination is the New River. Raft guide Dave Arnold.
The New River is one of the wildest rivers in America, and there is a perceived thing of danger in running the New River, and that's because that danger is real. However, because West Virginia requires a guide in every boat, it is very unusual for an accident to actually happen. I've been guiding now for almost 20 years, and one of the most common questions asked my people is, don't you ever get bored of this? The reason we never get bored here on New River is that New River is an extremely volatile environment. It is constantly changing. Every level creates a different ride. As much as 2 or 3 inches rise or drop in the river can create a completely different run. We run in different places, there's different ways to run, a lot of patterns are changed. And for this reason, many of the people come 5, 6, 7, or 8 times. There's plenty of room for the different seasons. If you come in the spring, you catch Grand Canyon style high water. If you come in the summer, you catch the warm water. And if you come in the fall, you catch incredible fall colors. So unlike many rivers in the United States, the New River is always different. It's really like running more than one river. Every time you come, it's a different ride. Every time you come, it's a different view. It's a real pretty place to be.
Jump off rock down here. This is jump rock here, and we're gonna pull over. Good place to check your life jacket.
Brian Abel is a veteran river rafter with Class 6. Abe is also known as a storyteller.
It's 37 and a half feet, and I think this is the rock. Yeah, this is it. We'll check it out for me, okay? All right. Beth. This next one is just class 5. Don't worry about it. Stay right down the middle. We'll catch you afterwards.
Surprise Rapid. It's a real stopper, and swimming is not uncommon. But like most New River rapids, there is an easy recovery downstream. Not long ago, the river's banks were alive with mining towns, and the sound of steam locomotives reverberated off the walls of the gorge.
At one time, it's hard to imagine 5,000, 6,000 people living in the gorge. As a matter of fact, when I tell my people that in my raft, a lot of times I wonder if they believe me or not. Today, there's no one that lives in the gorge in this section from Thurman to Taze that we run. For a few years, there was one lady who lived here. She was a classic hermit. Her name was Melcini Fields. She was the only person who inhabited the gorge, but she died about 2 years ago. And as the old-timers say, they left it to go back to the Indians. There's nobody in the gorge anymore, and I don't believe there'll be anybody living in it now that it's been made a national park for a long, long time. New River had 17 major towns in it. In its heyday, it's predicted anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000 people lived in the gorge. Right behind us was the town of Fire Creek, and in front of that was the town of Pembroke. The town on the left here was the town of Barry. Barry had approximately 400 people living in its heyday. It had an orchestra that came and played every Sunday, and one of the richest men in the gorge, Colonel Barry, was the first person to ship coal out of the gorge in 1873. These towns here were producing some of the most highly valued coal in the world at the time. It was what's called metallurgical coal, which meant that it burned very hot and was used in the iron ore industry. The coal was extremely accessible because this is the second oldest river in the world, second only to the Nile. And the river has cut a deep canyon here, which has exposed the seams of coal. The Sewell seam, which was the most famous seam, is about 2/3 of the way up the mountain here. And it was very economical to get because what you could do is you could get the coal right out of the face of the mountain and then drop it down to the railroad. The railroad is what made it really accessible.
Close to the New River Gorge Bridge is Fayette Station Rapid. It is the last big parting shot that the New River delivers to rafters. In West Virginia Whitewater by Class 6 river runners.